Yo, what's going on YouTube? Today is going to be another banger, and this one is going to be about El Mencho, one of Mexico's biggest bosses next to El Chapo. I used to have arguments and saying, somebody had told me, yo, you thinking El Chapo is one of the realest. You need to look at all the other ones like El Mayo, El Mencho. Yo, they are real. I'm like, get out of here. Ain't nobody worse than my man El Chapo. Like, my son was a straight gangster. They was like, yo, bro, look up El Mencho. I'm like, word? I'm like, all right, bet. We gonna see. Then I started doing a little research. I'm not even gonna front. El Mencho was a straight gangster. And I respect his shit. Like, yo, bro, I don't know what is in the water in Mexico, but y'all be on some bullshit. And I respect it. So we gonna get straight into it. I ain't gonna talk y'all heads off. Y'all gotta watch this video. We're gonna watch this video. Comment down below, like, subscribe, let me know what you think. Let's have conversation. Let's do all of it. You know what I'm saying? Let's get into it.
El Mencho lived in the San Francisco Bay Area, and there he committed himself completely to crime. That was all he ever did: drugs, robbery, assault, and intimidation. And he did it with a fearlessness that damned all consequences. The young man's main hustle was shuttling across the border under assumed names, facilitating the sale of meth. However, by 1986, his luck ran out, and he was arrested and charged with robbery and gun possession. El Mencho was soon released, but he continued where he left off, transporting drugs across the border. By 1989, he was once again arrested, but this time on drug charges. Then his illegal...
My man was straight selling wild drugs, got deported, came back.
Legal immigrant status came to the notice of the authorities, and this time he was deported. But El Mencho was unrelenting. While others would thank their lucky stars and lay low in Mexico, El Mencho went back to the trade, and a few months later, he was back in the US once again, moving drugs across the border. By September of 1992, El Mencho was arrested one last time, and this time he was handed federal charges. According to the court records, El Mencho and his brother Abraham were busted in a San Francisco bar named Imperial while trying to seal a heroin deal. Abraham was in charge of securing the deal, while El Mencho, who was just 26 years old at the time, was on the lookout. However, he kept an eye on his brother and somehow suspected that the people they were selling the drugs to were undercover policemen. Later, he shared his suspicions with his brother and suggested that they never do business with them. When Abraham asked his brother how he knew, El Mencho said he noticed that they handed them well-stacked notes, and not wrinkled ones. It turned out El Mencho was correct, but unfortunately for them, the same police would arrest them 3 weeks after that incident. This arrest was a milestone in El Mencho's life.
Nah, he's smart. He's smart. Ain't nobody going to the bank withdrawing $100,000 just to go buy some drugs, especially drug dealers. Not saying it won't happen, but come on, bro. Like, you feel me? When you dealing with big weight like that, you gotta know, I bet, who's police and who's not. Like, he was smart. I jack it.
Because it led to his final deportation and his emergence in the scene of organized crime. Meanwhile, El Mencho found himself stuck between a rock and a hard place. El Mencho had a strong chance of beating the federal drug charges and winning the case, but at the same time, his brother Abraham had a record of felony drug sentences. So, if El Mencho pled not guilty, his brother had a high chance of getting thrown in the hole for life. So, in a rare display of loyalty and selflessness, El Mencho pled guilty to save his brother.
Nah. I respect that. He pled guilty. He chose either his brother or freedom. And he chose loyalty first. He chose his brother. I respect that. That's honorable. I respect that. Yo, I ain't going front. I respect that, bro.
He was sentenced to 5 years and was held in Big Spring Correctional Center in Texas. Rise to terror. After serving 3 years, El Mencho was released and deported in January of 1997. He was now 30 and a hardened felon. The years that followed saw El Mencho settling in a Jalisco town called Tomatlan, where he became an officer of the law with the state police. During this period, El Mencho engaged in intense training in security and counterintelligence. Now, it's unclear whether this was deliberate, because if it was genius, and it was about to serve him well in the next stage of his life. El Mencho quit the force and made his way to Guadalajara, and it was there where he met and joined the Milenio Cartel. The Milenio had once been their own organization, but by the turn of the century, they were essentially a subsidiary of Sinaloa.
He went to Mexico, got deported, and became police, and then said fuck that, and went to the cartel. Yo, my man was real, son.
And that's because they were under the leadership of NACHO Coronel, who just happened to be the Sinaloa cartel's co-founder and the uncle of El Chapo's wife. Coronel was a brilliant and ruthless narcotics businessman, known more popularly as the King of Crystal for his dominance of the meth trade. He also ran the Guadalajara trafficking zone for Sinaloa. At first, El Mencho was recruited as a protection detail for Nacho's colleague, the drug lord Armando Valencia Cornelio, alias El Maradona. Then, in a short period, El Mencho rose through the ranks quickly to become a top and well-respected lieutenant. El Mencho and his group also managed the Sinaloa cartel's drug operations, finances, and murder activities in the states of Colima and Jalisco. However, El Maradona was arrested by the Mexican military. Then, about 9 months later, in December of 2009, Nacho was killed in a shootout with the Mexican military. Suddenly, there was a power vacuum in the Milenio cartel's leadership, and someone had to fill it. El Mencho was convinced he was that person. Unfortunately, the Sinaloa higher-ups thought otherwise and installed a colleague. This infuriated El Mencho and everyone loyal to him. Betrayals, backstabbings, and assassinations became the order of the day, and with time, the consequences of the civil war spilled into the streets of Guadalajara, Jalisco. Finally, the cartel collapsed and split into two factions. One faction was known as La Resistencia, that remained loyal to the old order, and the other was Los Matazetas, headed by El Mencho. A war broke out between them, but El Mencho moved first, raining holy hell on them, killing anyone remotely affiliated with his rivals until he finally won the war and consolidated his influence in Western Mexico.
Bro. Oh, my son El Mencho was a bug out. Nah, bro. What? He went the cartel, broke them up into two factions, made his own, and went and raised terror. Bro, I don't get no gangster than that, bro. Yo, bro. That's some real ass shit.
Mexico. The group would later change its name to the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, which, when translated to Spanish, reads as Cartel de Jalisco Nueva Generación, more popularly known as CJNG. CJNG versus Sinaloa. With El Mencho came a level of savagery that was unprecedented, even by narco standards.
Savage.
While El Chapo killed only when he felt it was necessary, El Mencho turned it into a sport. Not for his amusement, he did it for intimidation. There were mass killings, people kidnapped, tortured, and thrown in the middle of busy streets. At one point, CJNG operatives assaulted and burnt a 10-year-old girl alive, whom they mistook for a rival's daughter. Then, not long after, the
See, that's one thing I don't like, though. When you start killing little innocent kids, once you get the kid, like, come on, man. But he was ruthless. He didn't care. I didn't even know he went to war with El Chapo. Bro. Savage, bro. My son was a savage. He did not give a fuck.
CJNG assassins executed a man and his toddler son by detonating sticks of dynamite duct-taped to their bodies, laughing as they filmed the ghastly scene with their phones. But all of this was intentional, because it was El Mencho's language, and he needed it to clear the way for the drug lord's expansionist agenda for Tijuana. At the time, Tijuana was Sinaloa cartel's territory. It was a drug trafficking corridor that served easy access to many of the major U.S. western cities, including Los Angeles, San Francisco, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Chicago, and some others. At least $1 billion worth of drugs ran through the city, and El Mencho wanted it all to himself. In 2013, he began creeping into the territory, employing his signature violence to either intimidate or eliminate Sinaloa distributors. This escalated into a war, which was exactly what he wanted. And as he battled El Chapo for Tijuana, he also got into a peculiar war with the Mexican state, CJNG versus the Mexican military. El Mencho's war with the Mexican military
Yo, bro. The level of savagery he was on is fucking crazy, bro. I guess that's why they was telling me, like, yo, nah, bro, you gotta look up El Mencho because he was different, bro. I'm like, different how? Like, yo, El Chapo had the bricks. And he's like, yo, he ain't the only one. He went to war with them.
Started with the US. His rapid rise to the top, his penchant for violence, and his ultra-violent cartel had inspired the US government to hit him where it hurt. El Mencho had used narcos money to set up several legitimate businesses.
The first time you made a sale online was also the first time.
He used narcos money to set up legitimate businesses. I jacked that, bro. My son was smart.
World that were run by his family members. So, the US targeted the businesses, arrested his family members, including his son, and began freezing their accounts. By 2012, the Mexican army joined the party and decided to go for El Mencho's head. Big mistake. In a raid on a Guadalajara apartment building.
Big mistake. They tried to be down with the U.S. and go to war with. Yeah, it's crazy how it be fucking wars in the country against the government and people. Like in the United States, for those who don't know, like, yo, our army, you play, like, I wouldn't mess with I wouldn't even mess with the local police, let alone the fucking army, the United States Marine. Like, yo, bro, he had it up here, but he didn't give a fuck. Like, sometimes not giving a fuck is called for, but when you bring it to the fucking army, oh, you know you different. It's like, oh, nah, fuck that.
Building where they believed he was hiding. A shootout ensued, and the CJNG boss escaped. Inspired by the close victory, the Mexican federal police were also invited to the party, and a few months later, they too staged their own raid where they killed 6 CJNG members and missed El Mencho by mere minutes. El Mencho was furious. Not long after, he officially declared war on both the military and the police, and from there, the tables turned. On the 19th of March 2015, the federal police were on a completely different mission in a Jalisco town called Ocotlan. This mission had nothing at all to do with the CJNG, and yet the CJNG ambushed them, killing 5 officers. 2 weeks later, in Guadalajara, the cartel stretched their ambition and carried out an assassination attempt on Jalisco's Commissioner of Public Security, Alejandro Solorio, spraying his armored truck with more than 200 bullets. Then, 1 week after Easter,
Yo, bro, how are you? That's like trying to kill the fucking head of security or defense for the fucking army, bro. How? Bro, you have to not give a fuck about nothing, bro.
CJNG sicarios with machine guns and grenade launchers attacked a returning convoy of federal police who were returning from a mission. 15 officers were killed in what is still regarded as the deadliest day for Mexican law enforcement in about a decade. Meanwhile, CJNG lost no men. A few weeks later, it was the Mexican army's turn. They launched an operation to take down El Mencho once and for all, but as they got down from their 2 EC-725 Super Cougar helicopters, El Mencho's men opened fire with assault rifles and Russian-made RPGs. One of the helicopter's rotors was hit, sending it crashing down in flames. 8 soldiers died that day, and the only survivor was burnt beyond recognition. CJNG.
I don't want to keep cutting in, I'm sorry, but it's just so fucking crazy to me. Yo, bro, that's shit like this only happens when countries go to war with other countries. This is fucking a cartel, a cartel inside of a country going to war with was supposed to be people that's protecting the country. Supposed to be your top men. Like, what? Yo, Mencho, you got it, bro. You was different.
He had practically declared war on a sovereign state. The last drug lord to do this was Pablo Escobar, but El Mencho wasn't done. His men quickly followed up with rapid violence that paralyzed the entirety of Jalisco. Buses and trucks were hijacked and burnt. Gas stations were set ablaze. The mayhem was so rapid and extensive that the Mexican government was forced to be reactive. They sent 10,000 foot soldiers to secure the state. Unknown to them, the chaos wasn't random. It was well controlled. El Mencho used it as a decoy for the army while he escaped. By the time the Mexican army came to terms with what was happening, he had gone off their radar. But now, it was personal. And you could safely say the army was ready to go to any lengths to put El Mencho's head on a pike. But just as they were about to pour all their resources into the CJNG boss's capture, they got an offer they simply couldn't refuse. The truce. In 2015, after years of fighting, El Chapo and El Mencho decided to make a truce. They divided up Tijuana amongst themselves, shared up trafficking routes, and even corrupt contacts with the police force. But a few months later, around the same time when the Mexican military were about to rain hell on El Mencho, they got lucky and captured El Chapo. This distracted the military, and El Mencho chose a less confrontational definition of peace. Instead of initiating attacks on the military, he focused on breaking his truce with the now imprisoned El Chapo and returned to cannibalizing Sinaloa's territories. His cartel even got bolder, kidnapping and freeing El Chapo's sons for a $2 million bounty that he didn't know.
What, bro? They kidnapped El Chapo's sons and freed them for $2 million? Nah, bro. It's crazy because ain't one of his bosses for the cartel he was running El Chapo wife niece? This shit is crazy, bro.
just to make a statement, and the violence grew in Jalisco. But this time, they focused on taking out only drug dealers and defectors. In the years since, El Mencho has experienced success after success. Today, the CJNG is in a serious war for Sinaloa-held territory, including Baja California, Sonora, and even Chapo's home state of Sinaloa itself. The only thing standing between him and what he wants is the current Sinaloa boss, El Mayo, whom El Mencho shares more in common with than he would care to admit. Like El Mayo, he also now controls his cartel from the mountains where it is impossible for the military to catch him. And like Mayo, he too has been rumored to be dead in recent times.
Wow, bro. That's crazy, bro. We gotta see who's El Mayo. We're gonna do a video on El Mayo, but goddamn, El Mencho. Yo, bro. Where do I start, bro? Like, his upbringing was just fucked up, and he just said fuck it once he went back to Mexico. And he got on his bullshit. He did not give a fuck, bro. Yo, I ain't going front, bro. I ain't gonna lie. I just don't understand how Mexico could pull all of this off inside their own country. Like, yo, bro, the government's supposed to be, no matter what government for what it is, it's supposed to be the strongest of the strongest, the boldest of the boldest. Any type of threat or anything, they supposed to murder. They supposed to get rid of the threats. They can't. In Mexico, it seems like the fucking cartels run everything. They don't give a fuck about nothing. No remorse for human life or nothing, bro. It don't get no gangster than that, bro. Like, it don't. Y'all are some real ass motherfuckers out there, yo. All that bullshit people talk, yo, taco, this and that. Yo, you say some shit like that in Mexico, your whole family tree is gonna die. You think it's a game? Nah, I quit, bro. I ain't gonna front. I respect it, bro. Mexico, y'all got it, bro. Y'all are really shit, bro. I ain't even gonna lie. Bro, he kidnapped El Chapo's sons and then released them on $2 million. Like, yo, bro. Now I see why they were saying, nah, you need to look at El Mencho. He was a bug out. Nah, he was bugged out, yo. But this is the end of the video, man. I hope you like it. Comment down below. Subscribe. Let me know what you think. Let me know what else should I make a video on. It's your boy. I'm here to stay. I'm here for a long time, not just for a fun time. You heard? And with that being said, peace.